Good evening, everyone. Nice. I just had a new setup, so I press different buttons now to make everything work. So I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't work. Hey, Sue. Nice to see you. I actually accidentally, I created a stream for next week, and I started it, and then there was no one there because there's always someone waiting, which is very nice when I start the stream and there's like 2 or 3 or 4 people waiting. It's very nice to see that someone's actually waiting. And then I clicked and there was no one. Like, oh, maybe it's a bad Thursday. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, this is actually next week's stream. So obviously no one was waiting for that right now. Hey, Nicole. Nice to see you as well. I hope everyone's had a good week. It's let me just think. It's Thursday. Yeah, it's so good. I now have a like it says a little time down here, so I can see what time it is. I can even say what day it is, so that I don't miss that it's Thursday. Because sometimes my mind is. Today I just, when you become really relaxed and just don't push too much against things, sometimes it doesn't. You don't really feel like it's a special day or like it's anything different. Everything just is. And so today I completely didn't feel like it was meditation. Usually, I was, okay, it's meditation tonight. And today I was just doing stuff, and then all of a sudden I was cleaning up, and the kids were making a mess. I'm like, oh my goodness, I have my meditation tonight. I'd completely forgotten about it. And that's, normally I don't do that. I see it as a good sign that I was relaxed and very tired. But I was actually able to do something. I talked about this last time. I did the survey. So I have been continuing doing research on how to create a forum, because I know Sue and some others have been talking about wanting a retreat, and then like how you actually do that online. And it's a bit more complicated than in live. It's so much easier because then you have like contact and you can do stuff. But online, there's ways of really making it. When I started looking into it, there's ways of really making a retreat so much better online than not. And what they recommend is that basically just do a workshop, because that's a bit easier. It's not over length of a day or 2 or 3. That's a bit easier to do. So very likely the way that I will start is that we'll have the forum, we'll have a place where we can meet, and then there will be some kind of workshop. I have several fun ideas of things that I would find very useful. And in the survey, I actually ask people about that also, what you would find useful to talk about. So then I'll do a few surveys, and then there will be a retreat. It will just come a little bit later, because I feel there's so much for me that I have to learn to do all of this stuff. Just understanding platforms, understanding how to make all of this stuff work. And you can have breakout rooms. If you have a retreat, then I can put people in a group and they can go and discuss in their own group, kind of. So it's more of more similar to actually doing it in real life. I haven't had time to figure all of that out. So I will actually post. I will do that right away. I will post a link. I will send it to you right now. Let me just see. Here, and then this is the link. If you follow that one, check it. If you follow that one, just try to click it. You don't need to fill it out now. See, can you see the... Maybe I can try it as well. Yeah. And it should show, like I said, it's anonymous. It probably says your email address, unless it shows mine. But it will show your email address, but that's not something I see. So I don't see any of that. So you don't have to worry about me checking your answers. And I asked quite a few different things. I used to study marketing, so I actually find it very interesting to figure out how people work and what people think about. And when we want something and we want to feel better, many times it's difficult to ourselves know really what it is that we're looking for. And there's many ways when we talk in a certain way. Some people really want the spiritual talk, some people really want it to be just very factual, and some want more of a connection, there's many different ways. I'm just looking. I think I already know. Good, happy to hear that. Hey, Christian. I think I already know the kind of people who are here, because otherwise you wouldn't actually like being here. So I assume that you enjoy my way of talking, but it still is good for me to understand that it's so easy when you're sitting where I'm sitting to just like, it should be like this, so I just talk the way I think you should talk. But then is that actually the best way to help you understand what I'm trying to say? Nice, happy it works too. I'll post it again at the end, so people who come later, they can see the doc. And I've also tried, I've been working on putting up something called a chatbot, so that when people join this stream, there will be a message on top with links to the survey and stuff like that. So, like I said, there's a lot of stuff to learn to do these things. And don't feel like you need to answer all of the questions. It's a lot that I just find interesting. If you find it, no, this is not relevant, then just skip it. Just make sure you scroll to the end and there's a send button. So, whenever you have time after the stream, feel free to do that. Does anyone have anything that they run into this last week or things they've been thinking about? I have so many thoughts of things popping up of how distortion works and how different situations make us. I just heard a story about... Oh, okay. Sorry, Sue. I will post it at the end also, Sue, so you don't miss it. I'll probably post it... you know what I'll do? I'll post it in the community part of YouTube. You know, if you go into my channel, there's a community part. And I'll post it there as well. But I was going to say, distortions are so interesting because people are so focused on doing the right thing. And people are so focused on what they do rather than what's behind what they do. So I just heard a story about someone who was in a meeting with a bunch of yoga teachers who were discussing how they're going to do yoga and the pricing. And some of them had a really strong sense of, I need to charge a lot of money for it. And it's not that there's anything wrong with charging money. It's just that when they feel that, like, yes, I need to not have anyone step on me, and there's a lot of self in that. There's a lot of distortion in it. Whereas if you take away that distortion, you might see that, well, actually, it's perfectly fine to charge that much money. It's not that the money is the problem. It's just that what's behind that. And then they will always feel if they aren't willing to pay what they believe they should be paid, then they will feel that, and they will have distortion. They will suffer. Instead of just saying, well, that's just what they have, and then you can choose based on if you think it's enough for your time, then you just choose to do that or not do that. So it's not the actions we take or what we do, but we are so focused and so worried about doing the wrong thing. And there's this idea that, and I mean, it goes together a lot with my story, how when I was younger, I was trying to find out, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to earn money? Am I supposed to find the perfect girlfriend? Am I supposed to find my life purpose? But there's always this feeling that I can get it wrong. And if I do the wrong choice, then it's kind of all over. And I don't know what the punishment is, but it's kind of like my life is screwed if I do it wrong. So it's very, very important that I do it the right way. And it's just the sense of self, believing we're so important. It's so important. Instead of just trusting that it'll be okay. Like, this is just more of an ease thing. Like, just see what happens. And if it doesn't turn out, then do something else. It's rare that we take choices that completely ruin our lives. They do exist, but they're quite rare. See, JVB, greetings. I do have some thoughts and a question. Should I wait? No, perfect, JVB. Shoot. I'm happy to pay. It's all work and time for you, so I think it's all. Thank you. Yeah, for me, it's basically, I wish I could put so much more time into this, but the only way that I can ultimately motivate that is that I somehow earn some kind of money from it. And yeah, my dream would be actually to be able to work less at my normal work. I still want to work there because I love my work, so I don't want to quit. But I would want to be able to dedicate more focused time on doing this. And then, yeah, then it just... I'm not a monk anymore, so people don't donate money and food to me. So, yeah, that's just how it is, kind of. JVB, go ahead, ask the questions. But there will always be, by the way, just so you know, my thought about this is that there will always be videos where I never hold anything in, like, okay, this is just for the people who are in this seminar or whatever, or forum. Like, no, I just share everything. And then I love these live streams. They will always be there. But then people who want more closer interaction and more ability to actually meet me and talk to me and want more of a structured approach on how to learn, meaning a course or something, then that will be something that's behind a paywall. Let's see. Oh, JVB is writing. Good. So what I was saying about the distortions and the yoga teachers is that I think more about how you feel when you do things, what's behind it. Because instead of thinking, am I doing the right thing? And if you take action where you feel peaceful and you feel calm, it's more likely that that's something in alignment with what you actually want to do. And it's more likely that that turns out well. I try to always, before I do something, always before I buy something, before I choose something, and some kind of choice for doing something, going somewhere, or like whatever it is, I always try to make sure that I don't distort towards it, that I don't have any kind of friction, that I have as little as possible pressure towards that. So it's just there, because then I can see it just from, is this the right thing to do? Should I go there or should I not go there? I'm not going there just because I feel guilty or because I feel I have to. Let's see, JB writing. Sometimes when I gain wisdom and understanding, I sometimes feel better than people who don't meditate and gain the lessons I've gained. How do I not fall into this ego trap of being better than? So an important thing to understand with wisdom and understanding, I think those are words that unfortunately make us believe it's more than it is. So what I mean with this is that I think the original word in Buddhism was called prajna, which is, translated into wisdom. And it's, I like the word grok. Unfortunately, Elon Musk has stolen and kind of defiled that word now. But grok was a word from a book by Robert A. Heinlein, an amazing book called A Stranger in a Strange Land, which is basically about a human who grew up on Mars with the Martians, and he groks things. So when he doesn't understand something, he just meditates and kind of understands the deeper meaning on it, meaning he groks it. He understands it to a level that is deeper than just, okay, this is, okay, tea tastes good, like it makes me feel good. So he groks tea drinking, meaning he understands that it's not just about the tea tasting good. It's about the whole process of drinking the tea, holding it, feeling the warmth of it, tasting the tea and feeling the warmth of the tea and feeling the connection with being here right now and actually enjoying this moment. That's like a deeper understanding of the tea drinking, grokking. So in a way, when we say we gain wisdom, what happens is that we will read something, or we will sit, and all of a sudden it's so clear. I get it. I read this sentence in the book, and it's, oh my goodness, this is it. I finally understand it, and everything seems so clear. There's just no conflict. It's just there. And it took me quite a few rounds of this, because this happened to me a lot in the beginning, and I kept having this experiences. Oh, I think I get it now. And then if you wait a day or just a few minutes or hours sometimes, that will disappear. All of a sudden, you will read that same line and it's just text, like any of the other text in that book. But when you read it before, it felt different. You understood something you didn't understand before. So what that is basically distortion going, it just drops away. And when you have no distortion, when you have no sense of self, there is no conflict. There is no feeling of, is this right? Is this wrong? Is this really how it is? That everything is just effortless. You just read it like, oh, well, of course it's that easy, because you now read, for instance, what should we take? Like there's no right and wrong. If I say that, all of you will go, well, I kind of believe that maybe, because ultimately from some perspective, and we try to come up with all these explanations of how it's true, but we still keep the perspective of me. So from my perspective, there can be right and wrong, but from the ultimate, yes, there's no right and wrong. I can see that. But when you let go of the sense of self, then your perspective becomes like this bigger thing, because you're no longer having to defend the idea that there's right or wrong. And then, of course, there's no right and wrong feeling. That doesn't mean there isn't cause and effect, or that there are things that lead to something that's more towards what you want or don't want to want. I usually want to happen. I usually describe this as if I wanted to go out through this room I'm in right now, there's a door right over there. there's a window here. I could open the window, I could jump out. That would be a little bit cumbersome. The easiest way would be to just stand up and walk over there and go out the door. And if you would look at this room and you could actually see this room, you'd say, yes, why would you go out the window? The door is right there. But what a lot of people do when they get into spirituality is that they say, no, I got to follow my own path. I am going to go underneath here. I'm going to go underneath this sofa, and I'm going to crawl, and I'm going to dig, and I'm going to bring this one, because this is the master scoop. A really holy guru gave this to me, and he said, if I grok this, if I really understand this, I will get out of this room. So I take this one, I'm going to start digging like crazy here. I start digging, and there's a hole in the sofa, and I go, yes, I made it through the sofa. And I look underneath, and there's a floor, and I take this, and I keep on digging and digging, and eventually, if I really, really did that, I'm sure I could get through the mat. I mean, it would be hard, and I could probably get through the floorboards. That would be really hard with this one. But, theoretically, yeah, sure, it would work. So I could get through, and then I'd have to squeeze myself through that hole. I'd get splinters. Maybe I could get through. So, yes, that is possible, but I could also just go out through the door. And that's kind of what this whole thing with wisdom is like. It's that when you let go of the sense of self, things just seem so simple. It's like, why would you just go out through the door? Why are you going to try to do that? But the reason I wanted to do this was because, it can't be that simple. I can't just go out through the door. I have to do something really special. And this guru told me I'm supposed to climb through the sofa here. And he gave me this thing, and this is really special. So when you let go of that, that's what happens when we call insight, is that all of a sudden that just drops and think there's just no conflict anymore. So when we say wisdom, it's basically knowledge without conflict. Yeah, it's basically knowledge without conflict, meaning without the sense of self. Because when there's no sense of self, there's no sense of conflict. Again, we can still understand cause and effect, meaning if I want to get out of the door, it would just be easier to go out that way. But I could also do this. The cause and effect would be really poor if my effect was that I wanted to get out of this room. I don't know if I just rambled on there, but I find this very interesting when people use words like wisdom and understanding, and it's a way of putting myself higher than others, just like you say, because now I have wisdom, and we value wisdom. If you would just see it as you had a moment of non-conflict, maybe that's a better way of saying it than non-centricness. Yeah, it's an experience of non-conflict, because that's quite literally what non-centricness feels like. There's no conflict. It's much more than that, but there's no conflict with anything. Everything just is. So wisdom is knowledge without conflict, and you can only feel that for certain periods of time. And if you're honest with yourself, you realize that drops away. You might intellectually still understand it, but that's not the same thing, which is why you actually had wisdom and you had understanding, and then you drop the wisdom and maybe you have the intellectual understanding left. And so after that, we want to go in and feel like we're better than others who don't meditate and gain that lesson. I think, first of all, it's just natural. I mean, you shouldn't be hard on yourself for doing that. I mean, I most certainly did that. Absolutely. When I started when I really started meditating and had like all these crazy experiences, like really weird stuff happened, and I felt so special in the beginning. And I felt, I'm so close. It's just about like, oh yeah, this must be it, kind of. And had all these experiences. Yeah, sure. I thought that I felt that this was special, or that was better than. Fortunately, I did it within the concept of being a monk, and that's actively, there's rules and a structure that help you not go too far into that. So I never really spiral out of control like some people can do, thanks to that structure. So I think, first of all, just realize that what you had was you had understanding without conflict. But if you're honest with yourself, you probably don't have it anymore, because that usually comes and goes. Certain parts stay. This sense of non-conflict in regards to going out through this room. Maybe I all of a sudden hey, I can just go out through the door. And then I know, no, I probably should go through here because I can't just go. Yeah, I should. But there's all of a sudden, it's not so I can't just go out through the door. I could not go there. It's more easy to follow that thought. So you just have less friction to go that. Does that make sense? And then the second part is just don't fight it. I mean, if you feel yourself better than others, then look at that and see how that feels. And if you feel what that feels like, you're going to feel that that feels like distortion. And when you start focusing more on distortion than on being right or wrong or being morally right or ego, whatever, then you'll see, oh, this is an uncomfortable feeling. Why would I do this? It's a pretty dumb thing to do. I mean, I talk a lot about how it's about enjoying being here, and it's about feeling good with your life experience. But a big part of it that I just haven't found a good way of expressing is also to not feel conflict with other people. To not feel that you need to hurt other people, or that you need to push them somewhere, that you, because basically what you're saying is that you feel, it's a sense of conflict when you say that, and again, I might sound critical, but I mean, everyone here can recognize what you're saying, JVB. This is not something unique to you, and it's a really good question. So the feeling we have is that I am better than them. They should be doing this. I am a vegetarian. How dare they not be vegetarians? They should be they should be fruitarians. I think there's even something called faultarians, maybe. I'm not sure if that's the word, where you just eat fruit or vegetables that have fallen from the tree. Otherwise, you're taken from the... It's just a matter of how far you want to get it. The problem is that you then take that as a conflict with someone else. So the thing that was supposed to get rid of your sense of self has now created a stronger sense of self. And if you stop focusing on doing the right thing and instead start feeling, just being aware, what are you experiencing right now, you will see that this thing that you believe makes you better actually makes you worse, from the perspective of letting go of the sense of self. Did that kind of make sense? There was a really long-winded answer to your question, but it is such a good question, and it takes time for me to kind of get my words into order so that I can explain, but that's really the best way I can explain it, I think. And really just be kind to yourself. Just focus on what does that feel like, and see that creates more conflict with other people. And instead of thinking, oh, I'm falling into my ego, it's better to just look at the distortion and say, hey, wait a minute, why am I hurting myself? The thing that was supposed to make me let go of suffering, of this distortion towards the world, has now created more distortion. So obviously the right thing to do here would be to look at that and learn how to let go of it. I thought that was pretty nice, actually. I hope that, to me, this makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense when I said that, but I'm not sure if it did to everyone else. Thank you for asking that question, JVB. Like I said, everyone's quiet. Did that answer the question, JVB, or did it give you a different perspective of how to approach it? And as always, I always am quite direct with you because you're able to handle it. So I hope you didn't take that as criticism, as in you doing something wrong. And I tried to really make sure you understood that this is, everyone does this. Make a separate video about the question. Yeah, I think it's honestly, it's such a good question. It really is. And you made me see kind of how much more there is to it. So I'll probably do that, actually. I did make a video, I'll just say very quickly how one of the things never mind, I won't do that because it's a long video as well. Amazing question. So, for those of you who are new, we normally sit and chat a little bit like this for, I'm actually going to do something. Since there are some people who are new, I'm going to post the link to the questionnaire. There we go. For the survey for the form. So if you click that one, there's a survey for the form that we're talking about creating. And you can go through that. You don't have to answer all the questions. Just go through it, answer the ones you want, and in the end you can click send. And I'd be very interested in hearing about your thoughts about it. So for those of you who are new, what we normally do is we chat a little bit before. People ask awesome questions like JVB did here. And then we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is a way of coming to our senses and really viewing the world through our senses, not through our emotions or how we feel towards things or how we want things to be, but actually just seeing the world as it is. There's a saying in Buddhism, in the seeing is only the seen. in the hearing is only the heard, meaning that there's nothing added to the sensory perception of listening, of seeing. And when you're able to do that, then the whole world is interesting and enjoyable. So we'll do that as an exercise. After that, we'll sit for 20 minutes. Today's Thursday, so there won't be any guiding. And after that, again, if anyone has any questions, we'll have a quick chat after that as well, if anyone has anything left. So, to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, we'll start with saying out aloud 5 things that we can see. And you say together with me something in your room where you're sitting that you can see. And when we say the things we can see, we're not just saying, so I see a remote control. And it's not just, oh, I see a remote control, I see this. No, then when you look at the remote control, really try to see the details of it. And I keep repeating this, and the reason I do is because it's really easy to forget. And it's about doing this over and over until you're able to really see it. So look at the remote and just see it without feeling that you know what this is, without knowing if it's cheap, expensive, if something you like, you don't like, belongs to you, don't belong to you. But just see, oh, this is just a curvature here, and there's a glossiness to this down here, and there's a little button here with some kind of sign on it, and I can see the texture here is different from here, and there's like this text here, and I can, this is just this interesting thing to look at. And the white here it's just a really nice white. It's not glossy like this. It's actually a dispersed kind of matte finished. So just become interested with the thing you're looking at and really try to see the details of it. It's what we're ultimately trying to do is to become immersed in your reality, not in your interpretation of reality. And this is how children view the world. If you've ever had the blessing of being around a small child, you'll see that when they look at things, they just go like, whoa, and they just stare at what it is, and like, whoa, and they look at horse poop, like, that's amazing. I wonder what that would feel like if I put my finger in it. They just don't have the things, I mean, first of all, the intellectual understanding the way you do, but also the blocks that make us say like, oh, well, I couldn't possibly put my finger in the horse poop. That would be like, but the child doesn't have that. So we can still have the sensibilities of being an adult being, adult human, without having the distortions that comes from having a life where we create all this friction towards the world around us. So, I'll carry on. I see a box of markers, lots of colors. I see a pen. And I see a chair. I see a hole in my sock, or my what do you call that? Not sock, but the stuff you work with inside. When you do this, don't try to feel something, try to see something. You're just trying to relax. You're just trying to let this, it's not something you can really do. It's more that you relax and then you see the world as it is. Next, we take 4 things that we can feel. So I can feel my beard. I can feel how it kind of prickly, and I can feel how it feels on my chin as well when I do this. And I can feel the pressure, the raspiness. It's the same here, really becoming interesting. What does that actually feels like? What's the smallest nuance of the thing you're feeling? I can feel the blanket that's lying over my legs. You can feel the texture, you can feel the warmth, the cold. You can feel the different materials. Is it easy to run your hand over it? Does it get stuck? I have very dry hands, so it keeps getting stuck in the blanket. I can feel the carpet on the floor. Very different feeling than the blanket. And still similar. That's interesting. and I can feel my nail. It's not completely smooth, but it's very hard. Those are 4 things that I could feel. Next we do 3 things that we can hear. And so we listen for the same thing. We just listen for details and nuances. And I hear a car passing by. I can hear the wind blowing. And I hear something that sounds like a motor. Maybe a tractor or something. Next, 2 things that we can smell. I smell vanilla. And something stuffy, making me a little bit allergic. Finally, we take 1 thing that we can taste. I can taste spices. A bit strong spices. feel free to keep on sitting if you want to. Or you can open your eyes and have a cup of tea. If you have anything you want to discuss, feel free to ask or start a chat. There was such a nice calm sitting for me. Oh, started out a little bit shaky and then just focus on the breath and it kind of will calm down. In the end, I could have said, sometimes it'd be nice to do longer sittings also. I just take a little bit more time to get into it, because 20 minutes is just, it's a very nice time, but it's also nice to just let it continue as long as it continues. I think we discussed this before. Usually for me, I think 45 minutes, an hour, it almost never continues more than that. There's just no point for most people to continue longer. Thought about what JVB was talking about, how the ego comes in. I'm feeling better than. And another part to that is that you actually could be better than them at something. That in and of itself doesn't need to be the ego. See, JVB is saying, I understand what you said. Don't behave against what you've learned. Act accordingly. Yeah, in a way. So it's not that you couldn't be better than them, it's the feeling of being better than them. That's the conflict. That's the problem. If you say, I take Sue as an example, Sue is 100 times better than me at handling dogs. I wouldn't even, she's so much better than me in every single way. She knows how to handle a dog. She will recognize the dog's patterns when they're stressed, when they're going to be dangerous, when they feel threatened. Like, she has so much more experience than most of us here. I can't speak for the rest of you, but I can talk for me, because I'm not a dog person. I'm more of a cat person, and I like dogs. I'm just allergic to them, and cats, unfortunately. So from that perspective, we could say that Sue is better than most of us at handling dogs. And that's not a problem. The problem is when you go in and feel, I am better than them. And the feeling of creating pressure, as in, this is them and this is me, and I create a pressure, creating a tension that makes me feel different towards them. Because of now I feel different between me and them, because they're better than me, I'm better than them. And then you have someone else who's better than you, and then you feel a different pressure towards them. This is the whole distortion thing. When people try to understand this, they try to understand it from their actions, meaning, oh, I shouldn't say that I am better than, or that I can do something. That's not the point. It's the feeling behind it. So when you say, JVB, that you feel better than them, and it's actually very good, because you said, I feel better than, and that is the whole thing, the feeling. That is the problem. You feel better than them. That was, yeah, I'll have to structure my thoughts and make a video on that, because it's a really interesting concept. And as I said, everyone does it. Absolutely everyone. Or at least have done it to a certain degree. And very likely you've done it in some areas, and then you'll be able to let go of that. And then you have other areas where it's not a problem anymore. Nice. If there's no more questions, then yeah, I think you can see the link to the I said I would post it again, but you can see the link to the form. I will post it on the community page on my YouTube channel tomorrow when I have a little bit more time. Thank you everyone for a really nice sitting. It's been a long day for me, so it was nice to sit. Did you just get my message? Let me see. No? Was it on... No, I don't see... Was it a response you sent, Sue? Or was it a... Welcome, JVP. Was it a response, Sue? Or was it a message on mail? Yeah, when you're done with the survey, at the bottom there's a link that says... let me just see if I follow it. I have it on live chat, so it should show all messages. Ah. No, I didn't get that message, Sue. Unless it was higher up. Yes, I have done... I was just checking JVB because Mats actually told me about that. I didn't know that before. But I have it on live chat, so I should see all chats. Unless there is... I was playing... Sue, it could be I played around with a bot. A bot is like a program that makes sure that... that like people don't type like curse words and stuff. And I'm not, maybe I accidentally activated it, so it could be that program is going in and has some words that like it censors. Could be something like that. See, Sue saying, work with dogs for 30 years plus, I learned that every dog teaches me something about myself. Apply this to people. I mean, yeah, exactly. And it's really what I meant, that when we go about this, we try to intellectually understand the ego or the self, and then from that perspective, like, oh, I'm so unselfish, so I give everything away, I have no self. There could be a huge sense of self when you give everything away, because look at me, look at this thing I'm doing, I'm so better than everyone else because I'm giving. Oh, they're keeping their stuff, materialistic bastards, like they're bad, I'm good. So it's really not about your actions. There can be a lot within those actions for sure, and some actions are more natural than others. When you have no conflict with the world, or when you don't feel a strong sense of self, then if you feel no conflict, meaning feel no conflict, then it's less likely that you go around picking fights with everyone. It's like you simply couldn't be offended. You couldn't feel threatened in the sense of them threatening you as a person. That doesn't mean that you couldn't say, hey, wait a minute, this is not a good way to behave, I don't approve of this. But you wouldn't feel offended. So this is the thing, and then we can say, and I use Sue as an example because everyone in the chat knows Sue's amazing with dogs, so that's a really clear example where we can say she is better than us, at least me, with handling dogs. And that doesn't mean that she needs to feel that she's better than us at handling dogs. There's a saying in the dog training world, you get the dog you need, not the one you want. Yeah, I've heard that saying in other areas as well. I think there's a lot to that. You get the dog you need, not the one you want. Sometimes you get that with partners also. You get the partner you need, not the one you want. But if you're lucky, you get the one you need, and then that will turn in, your relationship will turn into the relationship you want. As always, very nice talking to everyone. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you can really take this to heart, all these things we say about... I speak about this not because I've read about this or because I have in my mind certain rules that you should follow or some kind of teachings that I'm trying to... I really, whenever someone asks the questions, I make up a new answer every time because of what I feel towards that, what seems to be the perspective that's behind it. So if you ask me next week, I'll have a different answer for you, JVB, but it really helps me when people ask questions because I have to think about it, and the more people ask me, the more angles I have to look. Hey, wait a minute. Oh yeah, that's another way of viewing distortions. But you know what? There's more to it than that. So I have a really simplified way of viewing practice, but it covers everything once you understand the core basics of how it works, and it makes practice so much easier when you don't try to understand everything. Instead, you just focus on, does this give me more or less conflict? I like that word. Yeah, because distortion basically is a more nuanced way of saying conflict. There's much more depth to distortion. But in a way, if whatever you're doing is creating more conflict, then it's not something that is going to bring you more liberation. So think about that for the rest of the week. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone again on Thursday. Sorry, no, not Monday. It's Thursday today. So I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday again. Thank you.